I will start recording right now. Hey everyone, I'm here. This is our first interview. I'm with the Wacinque. He is a former member of the U.S. Army and now starting his own social enterprise with the goal of ending multi-generational poverty. So my first question for you, could you just give a brief description of your background, like where you're from, where you went to school, all of that?
Yes, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. And when I was in school, I fell in love with history, economics, uh, history, history, economic, and science. I almost had a brain fart there, and joined the military to uh, to get a jump, start in life, and ended up serving 40 years.
Oh, okay. So next thing I have for you is what exactly is the social enterprise you're starting, and why did you choose to get into that?
Okay, thank you. Uh, when I grew up, I learned that I belonged to like 4 generations of poverty.
Hmm.
And so I became passionate about combating poverty. I mean, I was in poverty myself, and I saw how it lingered for several generations. In fact, I was in the church as a young kid, and I can remember one time after a lesson about how Jesus raised people from the dead, some of the adults that I loved very much were talking about being dead broke.
Hmm.
And that stuck with me. I said, wow, dead broke. And so it became a part of the passion of trying to figure out and learn. I didn't know exactly what that would lead to,
Yeah.
but how to help people or revive them from being dead broke financially.
Hmm.
So that was the genesis of the idea. And what happened during my 40 years uh, in the military, I volunteered with organization serving low income people who are in poverty. And that's where I learned the foundation of how the world approached combating poverty.
Hmm.
In the meantime, I would go to school and I studied banking and finance. I did an internship with one of the largest financial planning companies in the nation. And that formed the foundation of my understanding. And from there, I used that insight to say, wait a minute, if I thought entrepreneurially, how would I approach solving the same problem, but with the innovation of today with the internet
Yeah.
and technologies like blockchain and AI. And that's pretty much how that whole idea came together.
Hmm. So can you describe exactly what you do at Case and Rhino Solution?
Yes. So what I discovered was if you take the whole Earth's population,
Hmm.
nearly moving towards 8 billion, nearly half of the population is unbanked. And that means they do not have a bank account. They're not able to traditionally access the financial system. And I realized right off the bat that that's a foundational challenge. Poverty is a health challenge. Studies have shown that people in poverty sometimes experience less brain development physically.
Oh, wow.
And so, if we were to approach this as though it was a health crisis, and if in essence, if we said poverty is a plague, and we know that mankind has eradicated plagues with a vaccination, then that's the mindset I approached it with. So I'm launching a asset ownership standard campaign so that everyone has at least at a minimum, a savings account and a dividend stock account. So if you just think of it in terms of a vaccination, if that's the vaccination, then we can stop poverty or eradicate poverty if everyone owns a savings and then a dividend stock account at a foundation. So that's the focus.
Yeah, definitely just
Is
get everyone off their feet.
exactly. So just think of it as the campaign to eradicate polio or smallpox. The goal is you need 100% of the people with the vaccine. Same way with poverty.
Mhm.
We're not doing that. So my company is
Surprise.
launching that approach. We're approaching it as though it's a health crisis, and COVID-19 has exposed that it is indeed a health crisis
Mhm.
because more people have died who have what they call the social determinants of poverty, meaning their health is not as strong, their nutrition is not as strong, so their immune system is not as strong. Well, we believe that we can combat that at a foundation if everyone owns a savings and a dividend stock account, which you can do with the internet. It
Mhm.
wasn't possible 50 years ago, or maybe even 20 years ago, but it is possible today.
Yeah. And I saw something on your website about GPI. Could you explain more about that?
Yeah, that's just the the basic name of the account.
Uh-huh.
So we named it the Global Permanent Investment Account. What that is, though, is a concept, meaning if you open a savings account, it's your savings account. So it's not directly connected. The reason we're taking this approach is because conceptual. It's easy if people can relate a concept. If we say that everyone needs to have a global permanent investment account, which is just a savings account, then it's easy to execute. You
Mhm.
can get that at a savings account at a community bank, a credit union, a community, a CDFI, a community development financial institution. It wouldn't matter. It's the concept that moves the transformational change.
Mhm.
So GPIA, Global Permanent Investment Account, is a concept. And
Yep.
in the concept, you are opening a savings account and then stepping up from the savings account to opening a dividend stock account. And that's account is with a transfer agent. So the transfer agent system is global. And so that means everyone could open a transfer agent account today.
Mhm.
It's the structure is already there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And exactly like you said, if you end poverty for everyone, a lot of their other problems stop as well in terms of their
Bingo.
health. Mhm.
It's a domino impact.
Mhm.
And part of what we're trying to rally people to realize is that once you move past a base, then you can focus resources on many other issues.
Yeah. You just need the foundation.
But exactly, because in our model, what we're hoping to bring about is global protection for the base of the account, meaning that it's protected from you name whatever would cause that account to fall apart, it would be protected from that. But
Mhm.
remember, it's just the base. The base is protected. And that allows a person to always have access to the financial system, which would reduce costs in many other areas. So it has an economic impact benefit across the board. I believe it also will show that it will reduce taxes for other people because there will be less need for some of these basic fundamental programs.
Yeah.
Because if a person owns dividend stocks, let's say it's giving them $100 a month in income.
Mhm.
If you multiply that times 4 billion people, that's a lot of income, and
Yeah.
that will take care of a whole lot of things at the fundamental level.
Mhm. So how is this different than something like universal basic income?
Uh, the intent of it is exactly the same.
Mhm.
What's different is a universal basic income, as currently constructed, is a program 100% dependent on taxes.
Okay.
And if the funding stops, your income stops. In the Japaya model, where the philanthropic support helps you open a dividend stock account, let's say Microsoft or a AT&T or any phone company around the world, because those are fundamental utilities, or your gasoline companies like Exxon and Shell. That, as long as that's a part of the economy, then you in essence would be still receiving income from a company like that. It's a
Yeah.
utility. So no longer, so the gift can be a one-time gift, but it keeps on giving
Yeah.
because you own principal in a company that pays a dividend. As long as that structure continues, you'll have this supplemental income. As
Hmm.
you grow the size of the principal, you grow the size of your income.
Hmm.
Very different than a welfare model that's relying on taxes as the only source of the income that person is receiving.
So essentially it has the same goal, but in a more efficient manner.
Exactly. So in essence, what I like to say is that the UBI is an analog based solution and Jipaya is a digital based solution. And we know the impact of a digital solution. Think of TVs that used to cost thousands of dollars. Now
Yeah.
you get a great TV picture better than you've ever had in history for $500.
Yeah.
We believe that if everyone has a foundational account, a Jipaya account, you will see those same cost reductions throughout a system, an economic system that's just more efficient.
Hmm. Yeah. So my next question, you said your time in the military helped you get this idea. So first of all, thank you for your service. But what other um, lessons did you learn from the military that you implemented into this company?
Well, in essence, the importance of efficiency. You know, in the military, if one item will do it, then we want to use one item.
Hmm.
You know, overkill, even though in the Hollywood they may highlight that, but in the military, really, we ain't shooting for overkill.
Yeah.
So efficiency is critical, and it forms your thinking differently. So instead of coming from the traditional poverty education system, which there are 9 poverty centers, 9 university-based poverty systems that have been in place since the war on poverty, so nearly 50 years. Well, after a while, you begin to think the same way when you're addressing one problem. Well,
Hmm.
because I come from the military decision-making process environment, it's about efficiency, less cost, more bang, let's say, for your buck on the other
Yep. Yep.
end. And that really shaped how my mind, uh, gathered to think of it this way and to come up with this kind of approach.
Yeah, because Japaya, like you said, it's one thing that'll have major beneficial effects on every part of someone's life.
Every part is because another benefit is your mentality. When you're on welfare, a lot of times you feel some shame because people have a negative attitude towards a person receiving assistance. It shouldn't be that way, but too often it is. But with a Jipaya, you are an owner. If
Hmm.
you own Microsoft, you own it just like Bill Gates does. You
Yeah.
just don't have as many shares as he has. But the system of ownership shapes how you see yourself, your self-concept. And I think of, let's say Walmart. You own Walmart. Today, a lot of people in Walmart, they're shopping, and if they pick up an item they don't want, they'll just place that item anywhere. It could be a perishable item.
Hmm.
Well, think about it. If everyone who shopped at Walmart also owned the stock and sees themselves as an owner, who don't want to waste
Yeah,
their
they might do
company's
that.
resources, then they're not going to do the small things that can add up that are wasteful,
Hmm.
which takes time to fix and so forth. So the greatest benefit that Jipaya has is not just with the financial end. It has self-esteem and qualitative
Gives you
impact.
self-ownership, a sense of
Exactly.
ownership.
Plus, you gift it to the next generation. It's a multi-generational design. So now you can feel good about yourself. You have something in terms of, this is not the only value you can give. So of course, your love and all those things are critically important. But in an efficient way, you can also gift a financial start for your loved ones, where you may never have been able to do that ever before. With this model, you will be able to do that because
Yeah.
the principle remains permanent and you learn to manage it. So the principle is bequeathed forward. and then you're teaching your offspring how to manage it also. Well, each one will have their own. So you're teaching them with something they already own.
Yeah. Back to the efficiency. You have one solution for an entire family of generations.
Well, yeah, it's one solution that each individual owns in the structure, and that when you gift it away, they'll split it up to gift it to your kids or whatever, but they already will have their own, and they will be learning how to manage it all along the way. So another challenge we are addressing and fixing is under today's model, you can be taught financial literacy, but I see it as we're teaching financial literacy as though we were teaching tennis in a classroom. You're sitting in the classroom and you can look down and see the tennis court, but you don't go out into the court. You only show somebody what's on the board. You'll say, well, here are the lines, and here's what's in, here's what's out, here's what love means. Well, in the financial world, we do that same thing. Why? Because each person doesn't have their own account.
Yeah.
They can't practice practically what they're learning. Our model changes that because it's based on, in an ideal world, being established prenatal. Why? Compounding. We want to maximize the benefit of compounding. And the math will show you, if you even open an account at $500, but if you do it prenatal, over time, that $500 will reap a return much greater than if you put in 50,000 at a much later date. So it's multiple. I call it a full stack solution. There are multiple levels of benefit with this one conceptual idea.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many major beneficial effects coming from one account.
Yes.
And like you said about learning finance now, you're so right. You won't learn to be successful or be successful without any experience.
Exactly. So
if you don't get out there and do something, you're never going to learn.
This is why it's so great that entrepreneurship is a part of the solution complex, because otherwise the solution ideas would come from academians, which, as I shared before, there are at a minimum 9 university-based centers for poverty and so forth, and they've been in place for over 50 years. I will claim right now that my solution will have an exponential impact far greater in way less than 50 years.
Definitely, yeah. So you've been an entrepreneur with this business for a number of years now, correct?
Well, that's an odd construct, because as a kid, I started saving money. And, it just took to me like when sometimes Kobe would describe his passion for basketball. When he was a kid, he loved the way it sounded. Well, I've been a natural saver since I was young. It just came easy to me.
Yeah.
So this concept has been, building within me. And so officially, my company has not launched.
Okay.
It's going to launch in the next few months. But you're right. I've been working on the idea, refining it, over time. And now I'm at the stage where I'm ready to launch.
Yeah.
And we're launching with the asset ownership standard as our rollout product. We want universal knowledge of, and then policy support for an asset ownership standard.
Yeah, so building this company so far, for other aspiring social entrepreneurs watching this right now, what are some challenges you faced and how you got around those, and how you advise others to get around those?
Well, first I would say that in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's heavily tech focused. So initially I had trouble finding other individuals who were interested in a social impact, because I was surrounded by 99.99% tech-focused individuals. The other kind of miscue is I'm a social entrepreneur with a revenue model. Most people confuse social entrepreneurs with nonprofits.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. It's just a different model. So my model is self-sustaining in that it won't need external support.
Yeah, you don't need to rely on funding.
No, we won't need any external funding to move the idea forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on your website actually I saw some other programs you were launching, like the O2 IFC and the Warrior Financial Coaching Program. So could you explain the other programs you have other than
Yes.
GP?
So the foundational idea is, or the MVP is the Jipaya account,
Yeah.
which is owning a savings account, and then you step it up into a dividend stock account. So that's the foundational account. Then the companion with that is 1, 2, infinity. So O2 IFC is really 1,
Mm-hmm.
2, infinity, financial education.
Okay.
And it's age appropriate. So the account is designed to be created prenatal, and the financial literacy then is age appropriate as the person grows up. So it's life cycle and age appropriate. That's the companion. The two go together.
Okay.
In essence, you're always learning when you own something and you're using it and you're getting insight.
Yeah, with more experience you learn.
Bingo. So that's in our model design. The bookend to that is, I call it GPIA INS, which stands for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage individuals to own term life insurance for risk management. Yeah. Because if you're a young person and you have children and you're married, you need some potential protection, risk management. And so that's the third program. Then the fourth program is called GPIA FHC, which stands for Financial Heritage Celebrations. So for instance, most individuals don't know today that 31 October is not just Halloween, it's World Savings Day. World Savings Day was established in 1924 to promote learning to save and having a savings account. So that's how long the idea of the importance of a savings account has been around, since 1924. But in today's modern world, that celebration is drowned out by Halloween. Yeah. So we want to focus on financial events. So for instance, 29 December is Passbook Savings Day. That's the date the law was passed in Boston, Massachusetts, to establish the Passbook Savings Account. So although banks are 1,000 years old, for a regular everyday person, they could not access a bank. Yeah. You had to be a merchant or a country like the Bank of the United States, the Bank of Italy. But it was in December 29th, 1816, that the first legislation to allow a regular everyday person to open a savings account that occurred. So we celebrate, Passbook Savings Day. Yeah. Another date is 3 March. 3 March is when the Congress established the Freedmen's Bank. This bank was established at the end of the Civil War for the newly emancipated individuals, mostly African American, who then were working for the first time for money en masse. I mean, there were free individuals who worked before, but this bank allowed them a bank to save their money. Yeah. Why? Because in 1865, people knew the importance of saving money. They knew it in 1865. So they had programs that they had financial literacy programs that would teach you the extra cost of drinking and smoking, why spend so much money on drinks and smoking when you could save it and buy some land or so forth. So in essence, we're just reviving a lot of what has been done in the past. Mm-hmm. And we're focused on it with the financial heritage celebrations. And then last of our focus services is GPIA WFC, and that's Warrior Financial Coaching, because of course, I come from the military environment. And in the military, in addition to the traditional pension plan, which means you serve for so many years, at the end of it, mostly 20, you get a pension. The military added to that, starting in 2019, a 401k program. Well, we have financial education that can help a person understand the value of that program. So those are the primary services we offer, 5 lines of services.
Yeah, I love how it's all intertwined, all going towards the same goal. And I love how you're giving back to the military as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we hope to introduce this mindset to young Marines, Sea Cadets, Civil Air Patrol. So because our whole branding push, our culture, is to introduce as early as possible the importance of actually owning an account, whether, again, because if you have a savings account and then you join the military and then you participate in their program, well, you can merge your previous accounts with that new account. And then when you get back out, you just bring it back out with you.
Yeah.
So in essence, you can start even earlier than being in the military and have money already to add to whatever you add while you're serving.
Yeah.
And that's a heart and soul theme of what we're promoting, is start early. And this is not new. This has been talked about for a long time, but we're adding the actual experience so that when you're saying it, a person has perspective, because they're like, wow, I have an account. And when you add the dividend stock to it, it gives it more kick than a basic savings account.
Yeah.
And so you can get a little more excited about the returns with a dividend stock than you can with just a basic savings. Yeah.
And just like your other program, you're just almost rejuvenating what they instituted in the past.
Say that again?
You're almost rejuvenating the programs that they instituted in the past.
Oh, absolutely. So another specific reviving is, in the early 50s, there was a campaign called Own a Share of America, where the focus of that campaign was to teach the value of actually owning stocks. Now, in that sense, it was stocks in general. We're very specific. For this program, it's dividend stocks. Now, of course, a person can still buy any other kind of stocks they want to buy. They can buy Bitcoin, they can speculate. That it doesn't impede any of that. We're just saying, if everybody has this basic account, it has the foundational benefits. So we're reviving Own Your Share of America. I call that the analog version, but to spice it up for digital, we're adding to that by focusing on Own Your Share of Global Stocks, because we're in a different age.
Yeah.
So yes, so we're reviving those kinds of campaigns as a part of reminding people that this is nothing new, but here's how it's different in 2020.
Yeah. So obviously your ultimate goal is to end multi-generational poverty over what you said, like half of the world's population right now, to get them all off unbanked. So it's obviously a big goal. So what's the first step you're taking in the coming months for your new launch?
Talking to you, being on your podcast, getting the word out, because we've launched the campaign. So we have a petition to educate people on the asset ownership standard. We're using that as the foundation, because you have to help people get the concept in their minds first. And even though it'll remind them, oh yeah, these other campaigns, but what we're adding to the concept is the initiative to actually own your own account. And so that's our landing start, is with the asset ownership standard concept. And then quickly behind that, open your savings account. If you already have one, then add to it a dividend stock account, and just, commit whatever slice a person decides to create and then you just add to it.
So
the goal is
educating everyone.
you do whatever you're going to do in your financial decision making, but you one little slice, you're just adding to your dividend stock account. And then over time, you'll begin to see that the added value it brings.
Yeah. So one last question for
Sure.
the aspiring social entrepreneurs watching this, what tips do you have for them to start their own business, to make a change like you are?
Well, one is strengthen up eat your asparagus and broccoli, because as a social entrepreneur, you're in a narrower lane, and you may have to work harder to find people to support you.
Yeah.
So don't give up on your idea just because you're in an environment where maybe they don't see it because they're not global focused or social impact focused. And because it's growing, the number of social programs to support social entrepreneurs, but it's nowhere near the amount for tech. So for instance, I don't need to pitch to VCs. It's a whole different kind of pitch.
Mm.
But yet most programs that I participated in, their whole design is to teach you how to pitch to VCs.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get them to show me, well, wait a minute, that's not my path. What's a path that you can help me with in my development? And so with social entrepreneurs, don't give up your idea, work harder to reach out, use the internet, use LinkedIn to find those social environments.
Yeah, because the path isn't laid out for you like other people for tech.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's critical, because a lot of people, because you need support. No one can build a venture by themselves. You just need to find your tribe. Let's say it that. And because we all need support. We all need, because we don't know all the different lanes of development that we need to know. And, because even with a VC statement, I think it was said that 3 states get something like 90% of VC funding. We're talking California, New York, and Massachusetts. That means if you're not building your venture in those states, you're going to have a lot more trouble finding support. I wish it wasn't that way, but we don't know what that answer is for social entrepreneurs. We don't know, well, what state is more helpful for a social entrepreneur?
We don't know.
That's the ongoing challenge, is to build that support ecosystem for social entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you have to find your own path.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that was my last question, like I said. So thank you so much for coming on, and good luck for your future launch.
Thank you. And, make sure you send me where I can listen to it.
I definitely will. I'll send you the link.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.